the genesis of the Indian National Congress. The year was 1885. India lay firmly under the grip of the British Empire. The British had established control over the vast subcontinent. However, a storm was brewing, a storm fueled by aspirations for self-rule. In December, 72 individuals gathered in Bombay. Lawyers, journalists, teachers, and doctors united to give voice to millions. This marked the birth of the Indian National Congress. Led by Alan Octavian Hume, they had varying ideologies. Some wanted greater representation, while others dreamt of complete independence. They agreed on a unified platform for Indian grievances. The formation of the Congress was a watershed moment. It marked the beginning of an organized national movement. A movement that culminated in India's independence in 1947. Voices of dissent. Early years of the Congress. The early years of the Congress were marked by a spirit of moderation. The leaders, often referred to as moderates, believed in working within the existing system to achieve their goals. They sought greater representation for Indians in legislative councils, increased employment opportunities in the administration, and a larger say in the governance of their own country. Their approach was characterized by reasoned arguments, eloquent speeches, and petitions to the British authorities. They believed in the British sense of justice and fairness and hoped to achieve their objectives through dialogue and persuasion. The moderates played a crucial role in raising awareness about the injustices of colonial rule and fostering a sense of national unity among the diverse population of India. Dadabhai Naoroji, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and Firozai Shah Mehta were some of the prominent moderate leaders who dominated the Congress in its early years. They were respected for their intellect, integrity, and commitment to the cause of India. Their efforts led to some important concessions from the British, including the expansion of legislative councils and the appointment of a few Indians to high positions in the government. However, the pace of reforms was agonizingly slow, and the fundamental power structure remained unchanged. The British government, while willing to make minor adjustments, was not ready to relinquish its control over India. This realization led to growing disillusionment among a section of Congress members who felt that a more assertive approach was needed to achieve meaningful change. The Mahatma's arrival, a turning point. The dawn of the 20th century witnessed a significant shift in the Indian nationalist movement. The year 1905 saw the infamous Partition of Bengal by the British, a move that ignited widespread protest and outrage across India. The partition, ostensibly for administrative convenience, was widely seen as an attempt to divide and rule the populace along religious lines. It was during these turbulent times that a young lawyer from South Africa, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, returned to India. Gandhi, who had successfully employed the methods of non-violent resistance against racial discrimination in South Africa, was destined to become the guiding light of India's freedom struggle. Gandhi, or Mahatma, great soul as he came to be known, brought with him a unique blend of political acumen, spiritual depth, and unwavering faith in the power of nonviolence. He recognized the immense potential of India's vast population and believed that mass mobilization, based on the principles of truth and nonviolence, could effectively challenge the might of the British Empire. Gandhi's arrival on the Indian political scene marked a turning point in the country's struggle for independence. His message of nonviolent resistance resonated with millions of Indians, transcending the barriers of caste, creed, and religion. Under his leadership, the Indian National Congress was transformed from an elite organization of intellectuals into a mass movement, drawing support from all sections of society. A nation awakens. The rise of mass movements. Mahatma Gandhi's arrival ushered in an era of mass movements, shaking British rule. His satyagraha philosophy inspired the masses to rise against colonial oppression. The non-cooperation movement in 1920 was a significant early movement. Gandhi's call for boycotting British goods received overwhelming support. The 1930 Salt Satyagraha marked another turning point. It exposed the unjust nature of British rule. The 1942 Quit India movement paved the way for India's independence. Section 5. The Price of Freedom, India's Partition. As the Second World War ended, the British conceded to India's demand for independence. However, the joy of freedom was tempered by the tragic partition into India and Pakistan. The partition, based on the two-nation theory, argued that Hindus and Muslims could not coexist peacefully, leading to one of the largest mass migrations in history. Millions were uprooted and forced to cross new borders, amidst unimaginable violence and bloodshed. The partition left an indelible scar on the subcontinent, affecting India-Pakistan relations even today. The Indian National Congress was divided over partition. Leaders like Nehru and Patel saw it as a necessary evil, while Gandhi was vehemently opposed. He envisioned a united India and was heartbroken by the partition. Gandhi spent his last days urging peace between Hindus and Muslims. His assassination in January 1948 by a Hindu extremist was a devastating blow to the newly independent nation. Section 6. The Nehruvian Era, Congress at the Helm. In the aftermath of India's independence and the tragic partition, the Indian National Congress emerged as the dominant political force in the country. The party, which had led the freedom struggle, commanded immense respect and legitimacy among the masses. Jawaharlal Nehru, one of the leading figures of the Congress and a close confidant of Mahatma Gandhi, became India's first prime minister. Nehru, a charismatic leader with a socialist vision for India, played a pivotal role in shaping the country's destiny in its early years. He embarked on an ambitious program of modernization and industrialization, establishing institutions like the Planning Commission and the IITs, which would lay the foundation for India's economic and technological development in the decades to come. Under Nehru's leadership, India adopted a policy of non-alignment in the Cold War, refusing to take sides in the ideological battle between the United States and the Soviet Union. Nehru's vision of a non-aligned India, championing the cause of newly independent nations and advocating for peace and disarmament on the global stage, earned the country respect and goodwill worldwide. The Congress under Nehru's leadership won 3 consecutive general elections, establishing its dominance over Indian politics. The party's message of unity, secularism, and social justice resonated with the masses, who saw in the Congress the best hope for a brighter future. Nehru's death in 1964 marked the end of an era, leaving a void in Indian politics that would be difficult to fill. Section 7. Cracks in the Edifice. Challenges to Congress Dominance. The death of Jawaharlal Nehru in 1964 marked a turning point in the fortunes of the Indian National Congress. While the party continued to retain its dominance in Indian politics for several years after Nehru's demise, cracks began to appear in the once monolithic edifice of the Congress system. The rise of regional parties, challenging the Congress's pan-India appeal, was one of the first signs of the party's weakening grip on power. Regional parties, catering to the specific aspirations and identities of different linguistic and cultural groups, began to chip away at the Congress's support base, particularly in the southern and eastern states of India. Internal conflicts and factionalism within the Congress party also contributed to its decline. The party, which had once been united by the common goal of achieving independence, was now plagued by internal power struggles and ideological differences. The charisma and authority of leaders like Nehru and Indira Gandhi had helped to paper over these cracks, but their successors lacked the same stature and were unable to hold the party together. The Congress's socialist policies, while well-intentioned, also came under increasing criticism for stifling economic growth and creating a culture of crony capitalism. The bureaucracy, once a tool for implementing government policies, became increasingly bloated and inefficient, bogged down by red tape and corruption. The public, disillusioned by the government's inability to deliver on its promises of economic progress and social justice, began to look for alternatives. Section 8. The Emergency, a Dark Chapter. The year 1975 witnessed one of the darkest chapters in India's post-independence history, the declaration of a state of emergency by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Facing mounting political opposition and growing unrest in the country, Indira Gandhi, known for her authoritarian style of leadership, suspended civil liberties and imposed press censorship, plunging the country into a period of political turmoil. The emergency, which lasted for 21 months, was a period of repression and fear, with thousands of political opponents of the government jailed without trial. The press was muzzled and fundamental rights were suspended. The government used its emergency powers to crack down on dissent, targeting journalists, activists, and anyone perceived as a threat to its authority. The emergency proved to be a costly blunder for Indira Gandhi and the Congress Party. The public, outraged by the government's authoritarian actions, voted the Congress out of power in the 1977 general elections, handing the party its first ever defeat in a national election. The Janata Party, a coalition of opposition parties united by their opposition to the emergency, came to power, riding on a wave of public anger against the Congress. The emergency was a watershed moment in Indian politics. It exposed the fragility of India's democratic institutions and the dangers of unchecked power. The public's rejection of the emergency served as a powerful reminder that the Indian people cherished their democratic freedoms and would not tolerate authoritarianism even in the name of national security.